Hello and welcome to the lecture on MySQL. So let's understand what is MySQL. Well, MySQL is an open source relation database. When I say open source, it's actually free to use. You can download this entire source code as well. You can even download the MySQL and install on your machine and you can start using it. And what is the purpose of MySQL? The purpose of MySQL is basically database and it is used to store the data in the database. Okay, here's a link. I've given the link mysql.com. You can go to mysql.com. so here you can find the downloads and you can download the MySQL software. But for PHP, if you have installed AMPs, the AMPs already comes up with MySQL. Alright, so let's go and do some of the operations of connecting to this database and see how the MySQL looks like. So before that, what this MySQL database software can do? Well, you can insert, update, delete and data in the table. So first thing you have to do is you have to create a database. Then you have to create a tables. So database is a collection of tables, and for each table you have to define what are the columns, and then you can start inserting the data, updating the data and deleting the data in that table. You can also perform some query to the database, to the tables, for a specific row on based on some condition. You can say fetch me this person detail where this ID is basically this. Okay, and for all these operations we will use something called as SQL language. That's what we're going to learn in this upcoming sections and understand how to work with SQL language. Okay, the main purpose of difference between database and a file, because database can handle large amount of data. Okay, so before you use MySQL, you may have to make sure that MySQL is installed on your machine, and if you have installed AMPs, then by default it has MySQL installed. I'll show you how and where you can find that MySQL installation. We'll also try to run that software and connect it from our system as well. Okay, so how to access MySQL from command line? Let's do this activity and understand what is MySQL and how to connect them. Right, so if you want to download, go to MySQL and download and install this software. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to AMPs folder. So find out where is your AMPs installed. Okay, AMPs, WAM or XAMP, wherever it is installed, you go to MySQL. You will find MySQL here, right? Because it's an AMPs, it has PHP and MySQL installed together. So go to MySQL and go to bin. Okay, take this path. Okay, the first thing that you have to do is you have to set your environmental variables. Okay, so let's go to system environmental variables. Click on environmental variables. Okay, go to your path, edit it and make sure you put the bin path. Okay, what path is this? This is the path where your MySQL softwares are available. Okay, this is an executable. Make sure this executable are present in your path. Okay, what I've done is I say new, paste the path and then say okay. Okay, because it's added to my path, what I can do is I can open a command prompt, right, and I can now type MySQL. So when I type MySQL, the command can run, and that program is sitting somewhere in MySQL bin. Because I've added to the path, I can run it from anywhere, but this is available, this exe. With this exe we will connect to the database first. Okay, and how do you connect to the database? There's a command for it, mysql u root -p. Okay, so let's enter that command. mysql -ru root -p. It will ask you for a password. Enter your password. Okay, now you should go to from d:, I went to MySQL, means you are connected. If you are not connected, you will still retain on d:, and will ask you to re-enter the password, and then until you re-enter the password it won't go to this page. Okay, so once you are in this page, right, you can execute command. You can show the databases, because database, this is a database and it has collection of database, and each database have collection of tables, right? So you can say show me databases and you can end with a semicolon. Right, I've added semicolon here. You can say show me database. So this is the database that's available on my system. Okay, later we will use phpMyAdmin to access all these things, but there's another way to connect your database and see and run all the SQL commands on these databases. Okay, you can even still go run the SQL command like select asterisk from this table and show me the data. It will just show you everything. This is a low level direct access to MySQL, but there's a UI version as well, that is the PHP MyAdmin, which we'll look into the next lecture. But understand, you should be able to do this activity, right? When you download it, you should be able to connect to MySQL, and you should even at least show the database of that SQL. And remember how you can log in into, you will go into this MySQL prompt, and then you can start accessing MySQL. Okay, and this is a database, right? Free database for us to use. You can use this database to, store, create databases, create tables, store, create all the columns in the tables, and then we'll store some data in it. Okay, and then we can write the PHP program to access that data from the database. All right, so that's all about MySQL. In the next lecture, we're going to look at PHP MyAdmin, which is a UI based dashboard where you can directly go and access your MySQL. All right, so that's all for the lecture on MySQL, and see you in the next one.